During the First World War, around 20 million people died and another 21 million were wounded. Astronomical figures that are hard to comprehend. It's equally difficult to imagine that the soldiers in the trenches were looking forward to lying in the mud while bullets flew overhead, or that they later felt any sort of nostalgia. Most didn't, but Adrian Carton de Wiart was not like most people. In his 1951 memoirs, he wrote quite the opposite. Frankly, I enjoyed the war. Adrian Carton de Wiart was born in Brussels in 1880 into aristocracy. As a young boy, he was sent to boarding school in England, destined for Oxford. But academic life bored him. At 19, he ran away from school. He wanted to go to war. In 1899, the Boer War was raging in South Africa, and Adrian went there to enlist in the British Army. He wasn't British, and he wasn't old enough either, but by using a false name, he managed to enlist as a private. That's how eager he was for combat. He later wrote, "War was in my blood. If the British hadn't wanted me, I would have joined the Boers." South Africa gave him a brutal baptism by fire. He was shot through a lung and in the groin, yet miraculously survived. He was sent back to England, where his parents tried to steer him back to Oxford. But peacetime studies held no appeal. As soon as he recovered, he re-enlisted, this time under his real name. Thanks to his natural authority, he quickly rose to the rank of officer. Over the next few years, he served across the British Empire and developed a reputation as a fearless and somewhat eccentric officer. Eventually, the lack of war bored him, and he left the army. For a few years, he lived the life of a wealthy aristocrat, traveling across Europe, partying with nobility, and hunting anything that moved. When World War I broke out in 1914, Adrian didn't miss his chance. He first headed to Africa, where he was shot through the face and lost his left eye. He was sent back to England for treatment, which conveniently gave him the opportunity to be transferred to Europe, where the real battles awaited. He was fitted with a glass eye, but found it intolerable. Instead, he donned a black eye patch in true pirate fashion. As soon as doctors allowed it, he returned to the Western Front in France. There he was given command as a captain and threw himself into the bloody battles with childlike excitement. On the front lines, he stayed far from safe headquarters. He led from the front, pistol in one hand, walking stick in the other, and eye patch over his ruined eye. His bravery also made him a target. Over the course of the war, he was wounded at least 7 more times, shot in the head, hip, leg, and ear. During an artillery attack, his left hand was shredded. When the surgeon hesitated to amputate the mangled fingers, Adrian tore them off himself to get back into the fight faster. The rest of the hand was amputated shortly after. During the 1916 Somme offensive, 2 neighbouring regiments lost all their officers. Without hesitation, Adrian took command of both, in addition to his own. The sight of a one-eyed, one-handed officer limping through the crossfire with his stick, yelling, "Follow me," inspired his exhausted soldiers. For such insane heroism, he was awarded the Victoria Cross, the British Empire's highest military honour. World War I ended in 1918, but Adrian's adventures were far from over. He was sent to Poland as Britain's military envoy, a country soon at war with several neighbours, and plunged straight into the chaos. His plane was shot down over Lithuania, but he survived. When a train he was on was attacked by Soviet Cossacks, Adrian returned fire with his revolver, fell off the train, climbed back on, and drove the attackers away. When Britain hesitated to aid Poland officially, Adrian took matters into his own hands. He organised a secret weapons smuggling operation to arm the Poles. Poland eventually fended off its enemies, and Adrian was hailed as a hero. A grateful Polish prince even gave him a vast estate in the marshlands, where he lived and hunted daily until 1939.
Die Bereitwilligkeit, ihm die Zusicherung zu geben, dass die deutschen Streitkräfte das Staatsgebiet folgender unabhängiger Nationen nicht angreifen, und er nennt Finnland, Lettland, Litauen, Estland, Norwegen, Schweden, Dänemark, Niederlande, Belgien, Großbritannien, Irland, Frankreich, Portugal, Spanien, die Schweiz, Liechtenstein, Luxemburg, Polen, Ungarn.
Hitler's invasion of Poland in 1939 brought a sudden end to his idyllic life. Adrian, now nearly 60, was recalled as Britain's military attaché. When Poland fell, he fled at high speed toward Romania with German aircraft firing at his convoy. Incredibly, they made it out alive. From there, Adrian returned to England. But by the spring of 1940, he was sent out again, this time to Norway to recapture Trondheim. En route, his seaplane was attacked by German fighters and forced to crash land in a fjord. Adrian and his assistant ended up in icy waters, clinging to the wreckage as a German plane strafed them. Refusing to take cover, Adrian stood upright on the wreckage, a living target, until the enemy ran out of ammunition. Astonishingly, he wasn't hit. When the attack ended, a boat rescued them both. Despite it all, he continued the mission toward Trondheim, but it was ultimately unsuccessful. The Allies had to evacuate, and Adrian returned to England, on his 60th birthday no less. After that, his superiors decided he was too old to lead in the field. In 1941, he was sent as British envoy to Yugoslavia, but never made it. His plane crashed in the Mediterranean off the coast of Libya. Adrian swam more than a kilometre to shore with just one arm, dragging a wounded soldier with him. There, they were captured by Italian forces. As a POW in Italy, he was held in a special camp for high-ranking officers, but he immediately began planning escape. He helped dig a tunnel and fled with a few fellow prisoners. For 8 days, he wandered the countryside disguised as a one-eyed, one-handed Italian farmer. But his appearance and poor language skills eventually gave him away. In 1943, Italy capitulated. The Italians brought Adrian along as an intermediary in secret negotiations in Lisbon. He agreed to wear civilian clothes, but joked that he refused to look like a gigolo. When the agreement was sealed and Italy officially switched sides, Adrian was released and sent back home. As soon as he arrived, Churchill sent him off again, this time to China. Adrian became Britain's representative to Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist government in their struggle against Japan. As usual, he made an impression, offering blunt advice, allegedly insulting Mao Zedong at a dinner, and believe it or not, surviving yet another plane crash in Asia. Peace finally came, and in 1947, after nearly 50 years of warfare, Carton de Wiart retired. He settled in Ireland, remarried a woman 23 years his junior, and lived quietly in the countryside. Astonishingly, he died peacefully in bed in 1963, at the age of 83. He had fought in the Boer War, World War I, World War II, and several smaller conflicts, and had been wounded so many times it defies belief. He was shot in the face multiple times, hit in the head, stomach, groin, hip, leg, and ear. He lost his left eye and his left hand, and survived 2 plane crashes. For his courage and leadership, he received a long list of medals, including the Victoria Cross and the Knight Grand Cross of the Order of the British Empire. With his eye patch, empty sleeve, and countless scars, Adrian looked like a mix between a pirate and a Bond villain, admired by everyone from common soldiers to the Pope. But he was loved not just for his deeds, but for his character. He always led from the front and shouted, "Follow me," instead of sending others ahead. He was an eccentric gentleman who swore like a sailor and inspired all around him with his fearlessness and charm. One might debate whether he was extraordinarily lucky or incredibly unlucky to survive it all. But one thing is certain, Adrian Carton de Wiart was a man who refused to die.